This video is going to be on WooCommerce integration with ThunderPOS and ThunderPOS.net. It's going to go through how you set that up and then adding an item on ThunderPOS.net. It is not going to go through any of the Windows client stuff. That's going to be in part 2, so check that video out once you're done with this one if you are interested in seeing how the integration works from that point of view and like how you can get notifications on orders and such. So there are a few requirements for using the WooCommerce integration. First, you have to be using ThunderPOS Cloud Edition. So that's just going to be ThunderPOS with a cloud server. If you're using ThunderPOS with a local server, which most of our longtime customers are, you would just reach out to sales, find out about what it would take to get you to move to a cloud server. You will be able to keep your data, but there might be some functionality that will either not work or be different. And then you'll have to have a WordPress site, which you can get in many, many different places. There are a lot of WordPress hosts out there. We use WordPress.com for our own site, but there are many others. And then your WordPress site will have to have the WooCommerce plugin. This is a free plugin for WordPress. There are minimum versions of these that you have to have. They're listed on the screen. It's got to be 4.4 or greater of WordPress and then 3.5 or greater of WooCommerce. This really shouldn't be a problem unless you've had a WordPress site for a very long time and have not updated, in which case you may just have to update in order to use the integration. So then once you've got all of this, you'll also need to have the feature enabled. In order to do that, just talk to sales. It depends a little bit on your history with us as to the exact cost on that. You just need to let us know that you're interested in it. So then we are going to take a look here, and we've got the WordPress site pulled up here. So in order to set up access between our WordPress site and our ThunderPOS account, we actually just need to give API access to ThunderPOS, and that's just a matter of generating some credentials and then copying them over into our settings. And that's very easy to do. So to do that, you're just going to go to WooCommerce and then to Settings. And the exact look of this may differ depending on your host or your themes, but the words should remain the same. So you're going to go WooCommerce and then Settings. You'll get a screen a lot like this. And what you're looking for here is just Advanced and then REST API. And you'll see a screen like this. We've got a number of keys here because this is a site we've been using for a little while with some different things. But we're just going to generate a new key for the purpose of this video. And then, so we just go add, and we're going to fill in a description. This description, it does not matter what it is as long as you know what it's for. So you'll know that these are your credentials so that ThunderPOS can tie in. So we call it ThunderPOS tie-in credentials, for example. Doesn't really matter what we call it. You'll want to select a user to be associated with it. In this case, we only have one in this site, but it's got to be somebody who's got permission to manage your store. And then you have to give read and write permissions. You cannot just give read or write. The integration needs both to function. So if you don't change that, it won't work properly. So these are the settings you'll want. You can put, again, whatever you want for the description. The main thing is that that permissions needs to be read/write. And then we'll just hit Generate API Game. Now, once you do that, these two fields are all we need, but we only have one chance to get that consumer secret. In the event we forget it or we lose the file or whatever, it's totally fine. It's completely recoverable. You'll just have to generate a new one. So you would just do this whole process from the start. So these are the things we need. So now we just go over to our ThunderPOS.net store and go down to Settings. Then we're going to go to our WooCommerce settings. And there'll be a few that are turned on by default, but we're just going to enable WooCommerce. The WooCommerce address is literally just the site. And in this case, because it's actually just on a Amazon virtual machine for this test, it's just an IP address, but yours will probably be the name of your store. So something like, mystore.com, for example. The consumer key is going to be the first of the two credentials here. It will always start with CK for consumer key, so it's easy enough to remember. And we do have it in the same order over here, so you just copy that over. Same with the consumer secret. Now this path is almost certainly going to be correct by default, but it is possible, depending on your host, that they are using a different address for that. In that case, you would just need to fill in the correct path for the API, but try it without changing that first. And then notes and include new and used. These are gonna affect how syncing happens. So your description, right now by default, it's just the content of your notes field, but it can be customized greatly. For details on that, see the setup guide, but basically you can fill in all sorts of different fields that you can put in there. You can also fill in some different HTML. There's a lot that can be done with that field to make the items look better. You can also just choose to not put anything in there at all, in which case it will just sync up with no description, and you can customize it actually on the WooCommerce side. So we will save this. So once we save that, it's going to automatically do some of the webhook settings here. And you don't have to do anything with this. I'm just kind of showing it. This is how it's going to let us know when orders have come in, or if a product gets deleted off the website, in which case we assume you don't want it listed anymore. We no longer send updates about it. And if you want to change your mind on that after deleting it from the WooCommerce side, you just have to go back in and reset that you want it to sync on the ThunderPOS side. So these three should automatically be there after you save your settings. You don't actually even need to look at it, but just to show you, you don't want to delete these, because if you do delete these out, we will no longer get notification about orders that are incoming. So then if we go to our store and we add an item, we'll just create an item here. We're going to let it generate with a random-ish number. Item for video. So we're just going to add an item. We're going to add it with some different properties here. Set some pricing. The big thing is you would go through and add. I'm not going to set every field that you would necessarily set if you were actually going to sell this in your store. But if you go under online commerce, in order to have it sync with your WooCommerce site, you'll need to check the box that says website sync. And then there are some other online kind of specific fields here. I'm actually going to go under extended and just fill in something on notes, because that is the field that we set to send as the description. And I want to just have something in there to show you where that is. But the weight, the length, the width, the height, we just take a number in. You can actually set an option on the WooCommerce side that controls what units these are. So whether your weight is, for example, ounces or pounds or grams, but it will be the same across the board for all of your items. So all of your items will need to be in pounds if you're sending pounds. But I'm just going to set some values here so we can send those across. And then for the new price online and used price online, these fields, if they are left at 0, your pricing will be whatever your new price is and whatever your used price one is. But if they're not 0, then it will send the prices that are in these fields instead. So just as an example, I'm going to say online, we're going to make this one a little more expensive and be $5.99 new and 0 used. So then if we create the item and we go over to the WooCommerce backend and go to products, we will see that the top item here, test item for video, these are the notes. And then if we go under variations, we'll see new and used. And used is $2.99, new is $5.99. And that's how we can add products. Now you'll see we don't have an image on here. We can add one just through WooCommerce directly, but you actually don't have to go in to do that. You can also add one to WooCommerce through the interface here. So if we go test item, and then we go and you hit the action button and then upload picture, and then just choose a file and browse to it. I'm just going to grab kind of a random picture I happen to have on the site. It's actually a screenshot for the manual, but not particularly relevant here. And then once we save it and go back into the picture, into the item, we will see that it's attached that picture to the item. So that's very simply a way for you to add a picture to items through the ThunderPOS.net site, but you can also do it through your WordPress site directly, and it's totally fine. Updates won't remove it or anything. So if we go to look at this item, just follow it to see how the store would look. This site, test site, we don't have much of a theme on it, so there's not a lot of decor on the site, but you would obviously lay it out with your store's look. And you can see we can select, either new or used for the item. We've got our screenshot here, and then down below we've got the notes field as the description. But if we had set that to something more convoluted, or if we'd set the notes field to something a little longer, we would get more about the item. But that's going to be it for this video. If you have any more questions, check out our guide document. That'll kind of give more about setting specific fields. We're also willing to help on the support side, of course, and sales may also be able to answer any questions you have. To see the ThunderPOS for Windows side of how this integration works, check out part 2 of the video, which should be following on this playlist.